Hey there, Jeff Manchester, Manchester Music. Welcome. In this series, I'm going to go over reverb algorithms. I want to try something new. I want to help you understand which is which, and hopefully I also want to correct the record about the best and worst ways to use them. We're going to start off this new series talking about chamber reverb. Now, chamber reverb is an algorithm that simulates a medium-sized closed-off space like a stairwell or a corridor. Chambers usually sound great on percussion, so drums, and they also sound amazing on vocals. But, and this is where I want to correct the record, because chamber reverbs reach a maximum density really quickly, so they're small, tight spaces, you're going to get something of a frequency buildup, especially in the bass, which can be a big problem. And for that, you'll want to enable an EQ to roll out frequencies where things are building up. And we're going to talk about that more when we start driving. Now, purpose-built chambers, like those at Abbey Road and Capitol Records, have been sampled into amazing plugins, and we'll talk about those. But I should also say that your stock chamber reverbs that come in your digital audio workstation will sound amazing as well. So chambers belong in this family of realistic reverbs like halls too, so they give you a sense of realism given that the spaces that they're modeled after are real spaces. So if you're trying to make something sound otherworldly and alien and weird, I would recommend a plate. That would be a much better bet. So with all that talk and all that kind of preamble, let's actually dig into chamber reverbs, how to use them, what not to use them on, and all that stuff. Let's go. Okay, we find ourselves in Logic. Let's talk about the very first algorithm in this series that I want to talk about, and that's chamber. Now, as I mentioned earlier, chamber is meant to simulate a small to medium closed space. And so you're not going to get a huge wide sound. You're going to get a tight, realistic, intimate acoustic space around the sound source. Now, Capitol Chambers is a location. It's a real place in LA where, I think a lot of the chamber reverb sounds that you love come from. A lot of great records are made there. But I also have another plugin here from Exponential Audio, Symphony, large chamber. I love this plugin as well. And just to show you that you can get great results with factory plugins, I also have ChromaVerb, which is a Logic stock plugin. So whatever DAW you're using, I'm sure it has a reverb, and I'm sure that the factory reverb has chamber algorithms, and they usually sound great, and they're very low on CPU. So I just want to start, though, with the UAD one, which I like a lot. It's good. So starting off first here with this guy. I mentioned in the video we have, in the intro, we have great, I think, results with vocals and percussion and drums. But we have to be careful of that bass buildup. So what I'm going to do is just get you guys acquainted with the sound of chamber reverbs by playing some vocals here. And bus 3 is where I have my chamber reverbs. So I'll make sure this guy's only on here, this Capitol Chambers. And I'll slowly bring in the sound of Brian's vocals so you can hear what they sound like when they are kind of enveloped with a great chamber reverb algorithm.
All I want is to love you like there's nothing else on my mind. All I want is to hold you like there's nothing else I need besides a simple life. All I want is to love you like there's nothing else on my mind. All I want.
Great. Sounds great. That is the sound of a great chamber reverb algorithm. You'll notice I have 100% wet. The width is all the way up. Quite like it. But what I want to draw your attention to is this strip here, this EQ control center. I mentioned in the intro that bass buildup or buildup of any frequency is an issue with chamber reverb. So we have to always be mindful of that. And that's why we have a strip here where we can kind of control the amount of buildup in the sound through an EQ. So in this case, watch what happens when I bring in this filter, this high pass filter. I'll bring it in, let's say, all the way. And let's take out some bass and have a listen to see how that sounds.
All I want is to love you like there's nothing else on my mind.
So we get less bass presence in the reverb tail. When I press compare, we're going to default these settings back. We're going to set them back to what they were before without that high pass. Notice the honkiness and kind of in Brian's voice when I take this out.
All I want is to love you like there's nothing else on my mind. All I want is to hold you like there's nothing else I need besides a...
So it's a kind of resonance creator for low end, which might be desirable, but it also might be undesirable. One more time. Here's with it out.
All I want is to love you like there's nothing else on my mind.
Here's before.
All I want is to hold you like there's nothing else I need besides a...
So that's just one thing I think you should really pay attention to when using chamber reverbs, especially on vocals. A lot of people will high pass vocals at the very beginning without any effects or anything. They'll just bring that EQ on. Vocals are one of those things you want to stand out in the mix. You don't want it to be adding voluminous low end or clashing with muddy stuff in your mix that should be muddy, like a kick drum or whatever. So just something to think about. So let's move on to drums, which also sound wonderful. I'm going to keep the exact same preset going here. I'm going to send it to the same capital chambers, and let's do the same thing where we slowly introduce the sound of the chamber reverb. Pretty dry. And let's do the same thing as before. Let's bring a little bit of that low end out. In my case, maybe I want that in. Maybe I want to double up the sound, so to speak, with that reverb. You can see me messing with the pre-delay, which is a delay before the reverb fires, also has an effect on the sound, especially those transients. Here's 0 pre-delay, 50. So drums really benefit and percussion really benefit from chamber reverb as well. What I want to do now is go over to Symphony, which I really like. And let's have a listen to see what that sounds like. Again, we'll just bring it in very slowly. You can see I have chamber and large chamber as the preset. Quick before and after. Starting with before, just keep your eye on this little power symbol as I go after and before. And of course, there's ways for us to tailor the EQ as well. It's just a bit different looking, maybe a bit more kind of old school looking. But we can choose our filter shape here and also, roll out some of the low frequencies if we so choose. So a tighter sound right away. Here's without that cut. Let's bring it in. I want to hear what Brian's voice sounds like actually with this this chamber reverb. So what I'm going to do is unsolo the drums and solo the vocals and bring them in.
All I want is to love you like
Let's bring in the reverb.
there's nothing else on my mind. All I want is to hold you like there's nothing else I need besides a simple life. All I want is to love you like
Let's go before and after.
there's nothing else on my mind. All I want is to hold you like there's nothing else I need besides a
Just beautiful. So last but not least, I want to bring in ChromaVerb just in case folks are watching this and they're using a factory, plugin and they're like, oh, is it going to sound good? ChromaVerb sounds very, very, very good. I'm picky when it comes to reverbs, so, I think it sounds pretty good. Go over here, it's very colorful, very Apple. We have icons, chamber, and click this.
All I want is to love you like there's nothing else on my mind.
Let's bring the distance up.
All I want is to love you like there's nothing else on my mind. All I want is to hold you like there's nothing else I need besides a simple life.
I can go into details here, and if I want, I can roll out some of those lows, just as I was doing on the other plugins here.
All I want is to love you like there's nothing else on my mind. All I want is to hold.
I can take out that cut again, just so you can hear how that buildup really affects the tonality of the reverb tail. Here's with it out, and we'll bring it in and out.
All I want is to love you like there's nothing else on my mind. All I want is to hold you like there's nothing else I need besides a simple life.
So, I think that'll about do it. I just wanted to give you a quick overview of the different kinds of sounds you can run through a chamber reverb algorithm and the different kinds of reverb algorithm, plugins that I happen to use. I would say for me personally, it's really a tie between Capital, UAD Capital, and the Exponential Audio reverb. So they're both fantastic, and of course you're going to get great results with your digital audio workstation too, and the stock plugins that come with that. But just be careful of that bass buildup, and hopefully I've shown you a couple ways that you can mitigate against bass buildup or any kind of frequency buildup that might occur when you're using the chamber reverb algorithm. I'll see you on the other side. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this was a good first video in the series. We're going to talk about halls and plates next. Check out a video I did where I reviewed a long time ago now, FabFilter's Pro R, I think it was called, reverb. It's in the video link, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.